be Rainer Talbot for BS Competition alongside Sebastian Job as they begin racing down into the opening corner. BS Competition on the left-hand side. The outside sweep coming in for Sebastian Job is my pick, by the way, for victory. Whoa, and there's a big old crash that takes out everyone. Whoa, big flips. That is a massive moon mission on the way from some of our VCO Infinity field. We salute you for your service. My goodness.
I'm stunned. What on earth? Going into turn number one, it's just that thing that cascades one after the other. One small sort of catalyst, if you like. And look at that, Dara McCormack, P30 to P12. It's on. It's on.
Touche. I was going to say my pick for victory is Sebastian Job. I'm going to stick with that. But he's just taken over the front of the field, the open lap, by going to the outside. But everyone behind that mental. Got to see an onboard of Darren McCormack picking his way through all of that, because that was absolutely mental on the opening lap. Kind of put a smile on my face. I think it's hilarious, but wow. So it's Team Red on the lead for BS Competition. We've got the Grid and Go kart that sits in third at the moment. The teammate has dropped back a couple of spots, and moving their way through just a little bit is the Commander car that's now running in fifth position, of course, for EMM and Darren McCormack. Do you know what? I'd actually sit there and be like, if they end up finishing this race in 12th position, that might be a little bit disappointing, but to go from 30th to 12th and holding on to that, you'll take it.
Yeah, any day of the week. I mean, just to survive that opening lap, they're probably just breathing a sigh of relief and saying, you know what, it's happened, the adrenaline has spiked, let's get our head back in the game and try and work our way forwards now. Of course, on board with Dara McCormack, this is the race start. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie. Right, so we're gonna get a whopper as we go under the bridge here. So someone, I think, as an issue, oh, full send as well. Not only does he fire his way through, it was it was absolutely launching it. Do you know what? That is why sometimes, if you're going to make a big send into the opening corner, make sure that you're not going around the outside, because that's where the crash always ends up. And speaking of which, there's a big one happening. Coanda going for a big roll as if it's the Summer Olympics. It's not, though. And he's ended up in the gravel trap on his roof. Big drama for Coanda. Big drama for Redline. Big drama for BS Competition as well. And Alessandro Quinte comes through for Grid and Go to take over the race lead.
What on earth is going on? He's stuck in the catch fence. Goodness me, that's Dara McCormack. EMM Esports, a big opportunity there with Coanda and Team Redline both getting involved in some issues to fire their way back into contention. Well, that's just been thrown in the bin. Rip it up, the script. You couldn't write this stuff. What on earth is going on? We're 3 minutes in. It's Quinte for Grid and Go that now leads this race. We still got 42 minutes to go. At what point do these guys calm down?
But this is the thing, race like this, these happen in VCO Infinity, where everything goes a little bit mental, right? And you sit there and you think, oh my god, it's hugely dramatic. We're getting a really weird result at the front compared to where we normally are, as Alessandro Quinte just getting through some of the back markers. The problem is, though, is that Coanda have had a massive problem, as has EMM, as has Redline, as has all the drivers and teams that we're expecting to be in contention for those top spots for second. They're all kind of involved in that instance. So effectively, there is no major chain towards the top of the point, fascinatingly.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it, really? You know, if everyone gets knocked out, then no one makes any big gains relative to each other. What is interesting, obviously, we've got Grid and Go, Cesar Esport, who took the victory after Fuji in the Wet Super Formula Lights race. Mate Varga has been given a golden opportunity here. I mean, if you're a driver on that grid, at what point do you just take a breath, calm down, and lock yourself back in? This is what happened to Dara McCormack, now nowhere near the top 12. I think he's a bit far back, and at this point, you know, you lift, you slow down, but I don't think that's Dara McCormack's mentality. Straight into the back of the car.
So how does he end up on the barrier?
Does he hit this car in? No, he just gets tabbed around. Oh my goodness!
Wow! Was that the Grid and Go car? Yeah, it must be the second. It must be the second Grid and Go car. Wow, that was a whopper. Yeah, tried coming through. Obviously, it would have had damage on the front of the car anyway, but tried coming through all of that. But clearly, the Super Formula Lights at Okayama is meme city. I mean, it was very entertaining, but I don't think many of the drivers will be saying that, apart from the ones that are still in the race towards the front. For Cesar Esport, the current result, well, it's not going to give them an extra position in the championship, but it is going to move them up relatively close to Coanda and to EMM. This is a look from up above. Also, what was happening between the like Sebastian Job and the BS competition car of Rain and Talvar and all that. Here comes Darren McCormack. Darren McCormack's already been flipped off. There he goes. Goodness me, what a crash.
Yeah, it's spectacular. Something out of Speed Racer, it looks like, to be honest, in the acrobatics of it all. That was remarkable to look at from a top-down viewpoint. And, well, now we can take that breath and settle ourselves into the rest of this race. I mean, I think everyone got a bit excited in the opening phase, and it's just that thing, it catalyzes and it just leads from one thing to another. It's a chain reaction. Everyone's close together, everyone's vying for the same position on of the track, and yeah, once one thing goes, everyone's so tight together that, and especially with how sensitive these open wheel cars are, you clip the wheel wrong, and as we saw with Darren McCormack, you get sent flying up into the air. Sebastian Joe back out on circuit. He's the highest of the front runners. Elliot Vera in 42nd, Darren McCormack in 48th position. Seb Job, I think, just was able to getting away with just going into the pit lane for a fast repair. There was no real time loss, but look at that. Grid and Go Esports, the second car, Alessandro Quinte and Matej Varga trying to pull away from Alessio Benino in third. They're coming up, well, not coming up to lap Coanda. I'm sure Elliot Veyron is going to, manage the gap, but it's the fact that after the first 2 laps, Coanda and everyone wiped completely out of the race.
11 points between Coanda and EMM coming into this race, and there's only 2 positions between them. It's 42nd for Coanda, it's 44th for EMM. Shezza Esports in second will close up to that. They came into this race about 70 points. 70 or 80 points behind, so they're going to actually make a fair amount of progress, not a ridiculous amount, but a fair amount of progress up there to give them maybe a chance of doing it in the final 4 races. We've got plenty of time and plenty of battles still to come. Is that the Dutch League Racing car, Delta Sport rather, that are into the gravel at the first of the double hairpin sequence. It's not the easiest one to mess up, but I assume if you lock a front left, you can kind of end up in that gravel trap relatively easily.
Yeah, my main concern with that double hairpin would be the rears actually going rather than the fronts, because you're trying to carry a lot of speed, and there's a 50-meter board going into the first one. That's sort of where you're aiming for, and you're sending it quite deep on the brakes, and you're not braking hard. You're sort of trailing it off, and that's really where it goes. I think, well, contact would get you off into the gravel trap more than anything. That's getting spun round through said hairpin, stuck in the middle of the circuit, and getting back going again. So it's not front locking or rear locking, it's just getting, well, shunted from behind.
I think that might have been the fast repair car that tapped the rear end. Probably not needing the fast repair after that just yet. You don't really want to come into the pit lane in a race like this. Reminder, with the Super Formula lights, there is no fuel requirement or tyres. That will mean these cars have to come down into pit lane. They can stay out for the entirety of this 45-minute sequence, and it is a straight run to the checkered flag if they're able to do it and keep themselves out of trouble. At the moment, it does seem as though Grid and Go are the ones in control, but Shezza Esports could be lining themselves up for a second victory of VCO INFINITY V. They had a race victory in race 16 a little while ago. There is potential for another one.
Yeah, 100% with Quinte. I mean, the slipstream in these cars, you could probably feel about 7.5, 8 tenths back. So I think Varga is right there where he needs to be. But saying that, the time has been refreshed and the gap's closer to a second. So Quinte bridging that gap nicely. The pair of them, of course, have got a good few seconds in front. And I think for Matej Varga, if you're looking at this as Shezza Esports and you're sort of going, okay, there is a chance we might be able to finish second here. Again, how hard are you going to be pushing for that victory? Side by side, just behind that battle, or well, this battle for what is third position between Amsterdam Motorsport 07 and also Vitality Thibaut Casabon getting in the mix. I think that could have been maybe I think that was Bernstoff and Deninter swapping positions just in behind these two, of course. Could well be a 5-car train in the near future. And Alessio Benino, who was in the podium, recently being overtaken by Francesco Iliano, who, again, for Amsterdam Motorsport, has worked their way up into the podium. And again, for teams like that, who aren't typically contending for the race wins or the podiums, this is a huge points game for them. If they're able to benefit from this in their own respective championship battles, say the fight for like P10, P11, P12, etc., having this opportunity, similar, say, to like an Alpine in Formula 1 suddenly getting a podium while like Haas are barely in the points, it's a similar effect. They can benefit from instances like this and come out of it very happily on the other side.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite as to what's happening with quite a lot of our teams towards the top. But I say that because Team Redline, points leaders, well, they're down in 24th position, but Coanda are down in 42nd. EMM, who are in 3rd, are down in 44th. BS Competition, I think, are down in 40th. Drago Racing are around the 30s, with I think it might be 40th or in that kind of camp with Nicholas Boyd behind the wheel. So, the only team in the top 6 that is in a solid spot, there's BS Competition, is in a solid spot, is Shezza Esports, which means they are the only ones making ground. No one else really is making any real ground on anyone because everyone's having a bad race. And that's, like I say, that's happened in VCO Infinity a lot. If you go back and look, we've got some of them on Wikipedia and stuff, some of the results for the previous seasons. Most of the time, if one of the big teams has a bad race, it's not just them. Like, a few of the big teams have bad races. You can see it there. Look at those points. For Team Redline, they're gaining 28. For Coanda, for EMM, 9 and 8. For BS Competition, it's 11. For Drago, it's 16. For TC, it's 17. That really highlights 4th place. Shezza Esports gaining 49 points in this, when no one else really is.
Well, when it rains, it pours for VCO Infinity, definitely. You'd just be gutted. Say if you're like Darren McCormack and you see everything explode all around you, you sort of look at that going, well, yeah, I want to capitalise from that. I think that's why we saw quite an aggressive Darren McCormack, knowing that qualifying didn't go so well. He wanted to sort of fight his way forward and ultimately got involved in an incident that largely wasn't his fault. Maybe there was more he could have done to avoid it. Again, I'm not going to say too much because I don't think that's overly true. He got caught up in an incident, and that's sort of their chance thrown away. But at the very least, it does mean that there's no real damage done in the sense that EMM are losing ground relative to Coanda. It just means that it's a race that they're not gaining. So it's not a complete write-off. It just means that they've got one less race to go and catch. 4 races left after this one, of course. And if Coanda continue their streak of, well, I'll say Ferrariism, as we saw at Road America, it's still very possible. And I'd say not even possible, likely EMM takes 2nd place.
Yeah, I mean, the last few results for Coanda, here's the interesting bit. When it comes to the points, it's 12 points, then 47, then 28 and 28. That is not great. EMM have had 49, 21. 21's obviously not great, but 49, 21, 41 and 50. EMM have been comfortably outscoring Coanda the last 4 or so races. And that is surely a pretty large concern for the purple and orange, especially in a race like this where you'd actually be sat there and think that this race is actually, it's a missed opportunity, right? That's the important bit. It is, yes, all your rivals are having bad races. This is the missed opportunity to not have a bad race and pull out the gap and make sure that you are a little bit more comfortable for the final races. Obviously, EMM will sit there and be like, it's a missed opportunity because they didn't. They could have closed down some of the points. They could have overtaken. That's the main bit about a race like this. Is a lot of the teams will be thinking about it being a missed opportunity over anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Especially EMM to sort of say, yeah, we were there. We were in P12. Coanda are now down in P, wherever they are, 20 outside of the top 20 at the least. Darren McCormack is probably going, oh, well, if I had just stayed in P12, that's then the switch, isn't it? And obviously Elliot Veyron, I mean, when is he going to catch a break in a Super Formula Lights race? It was a similar story back at Fuji a few races ago, and yeah, Coanda definitely feeling it, I would imagine. The pressure, again, how much they deep Infinity. I know a lot of them really do want to go for the win, and naturally you will. It's a competition. You put hours and hours of work and prep into it. And so I would imagine they probably are quite stressed as there's battles throughout the entirety of the field with 30 minutes left to go. Yeah, I think you're right. It's a missed opportunity, and what it means is that in terms of the championship at the front, this race is just a write-off for us to have an interesting result towards the sharp end and also open the door for maybe it to become a 3-way fight for P2. Because again, realistically, I think Redline are getting this wrapped up by race 22.
Yeah, most likely. I will say on the Coanda front, the one saving grace for them a little bit is that going into the final race of the season, which is going to be mental, season as an event, it's the Formula Fords at the Charlotte Roval, and the thing with that is they have Dan Amor behind the wheel, and I would argue that on paper in this event so far, he has been the best driver in the Formula Fords. He's had 2 victories in the Formula Fords. I think he's had 3 poles, and is always there or thereabouts. Yes, the Fuji didn't go well because of various issues, but he's got the speed. Oh my goodness, that was a big look, trying to navigate some of the back markers. I think we've got the grid and go-kart pull their way through. It's a 2-second lead at the moment for Alessandro Quinte, the lead car, and that might be the 3M. Grid and go 3M, the Altitude 3M car. Sort your stuff out, because those 2 liveries are too similar. I'm not good with colours. We've been through this.
No, we've established on plenty of occasions, and me as well. Again, for context, I wrote half my GCSEs in a green pen, thinking it was black.
Yeah.
That day where I was like, lads, is this a black pen? And you all turned around and was like, no, that's green. And I had my head in my hands for a good while. I can see the colours, and that's a huge lockup. Goodness me, there, going into a very tricky corner, actually, that long right-hander. Obviously uphill, so getting on the power important, especially with the long straight that comes after it. But also, it is quite wide, and you can carry a decent amount of speed. Quite a difficult one that, again, I'm not really ever talented enough to really crack, as, again, we're seeing a very cambered hairpin, which it really does open the door for side-by-side action. You can send it so deep into that corner, as a swap for 14th there as Bernier goes through on Castro.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the blue Mercure car just ahead of the BS hybrid, and all these positions obviously do mean the extra points and such, but you kind of want to use it to catapult yourself into the next group. And unfortunately for Auguste Bernier, Norbert Leichner's a little bit too far down the order, about 2.5 seconds clear of this. That can be closed down, but yeah, maybe it's not ideal. Also, for the battle for second position, the last lap for Sheza Esports and Mate Varga, it was a 20.8 for Grid and Go. It was a 26.1 for Mate Varga. That Sheza Esport car had an issue on the previous lap, and a pretty significant one at that.
Yeah, 6 seconds. It's probably going to be a spin or a couple of mistakes, probably, then trying to reel it back in. We'll have a look here off the exit of the first hairpin. Looks pretty tidy, sending it into the second, and yeah, just asking too much at the front. Again, you're chucking it in. The weight balance, it just you ask too much of the rear tyres, especially as you're trailing, I think, ever so slightly on the brakes as you start to come off. If you've got the rear balance too far back, which all of these drivers are going to be doing. I was speaking to Kieran Harding, of course. We had him with the Drive Lounge Racing, about how far back the brake bias was for British F4, and it'll be very similar in the Super Formula Lights. Unbelievably far back, and again, it just triggers that if you get it ever so slightly wrong, carry too much speed into the corner, or put a bit too much front lock in, that rear is just going to say, absolutely not, mate.
Do you know what? I don't think it was that, though. I think he was potentially in first gear and switched up to second. That snap, because it snapped. It didn't slowly go, it absolutely snapped. That reeks of shifting up to second whilst on power, trying to leave the corner, and too much steering when it happens. And when you do that and you shift up into second gear, it just snaps, you lose power, you just spin. That's what that looked like to my untrained eye. But I don't have contacts to take part in British Formula 4 Esports as commentator on the championship. Don't worry about it.
Let's have a look.
Here we go.
He stays in second, I would imagine.
Maybe shifts to third. No, I'm wrong. Damn.
Unlucky. I absolutely has merit.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. You're on comms for yourself for 26 minutes. Have fun.
Cool. In a bit. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if you actually did just leave the Discord call. It just looked as though he was wide initially going in, and that's sort of what went round. But yeah, shifting up too early is absolutely a problem. Only thing with these cars is obviously turbo, so you shift up, you actually lose power, because obviously the revs drop and you don't have anywhere near as much torque. And surprisingly, again, I came into the Super Formula Light. I drove the Formula 4 a week, and then I drove the Formula 3 a week, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try something even different. I'm going to go for the Super Formula Lights, having a theme here. Astounding amount of rear grip. Like, you can slam the power with very minimal slip, and get away with it. So yeah, I do think the majority of spins you're going to have in this car are either rear brake balance related or weight transfer.
Just disappointed.
I was going to say,
I just, my ego's taking a big hit. All right.
The tantrum. I remember that time. It was a Nürburgring 24-hour, but it must have been 23.
Oh,
Your PC died about 10 minutes into the stint, and you were
Oh yeah, no, I remember.
35 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, I remember. No, it wasn't my PC. It was my internet was having some serious problems.
Yeah.
We had to rewire some bits to actually make it all work. But yes, I was. Yeah, no, I dropped you in it. No, this is close, but it's more my ego that's taken the hit. It's fine. If we could all just scrub the last 5 minutes from our memories, that would be amazing. Thank you. Actually, I don't care. I think sometimes you have to risk being wrong.
Perspective.
And just say it. You know what I mean? Don't be a wimp or something. Either way, Mate Varga will have overheated his rear tyres. That is one thing for sure. They'll be all right now. But maybe his confidence each time going into that hairpin might not be quite as high.
Indeed so. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that as a driver, the mentality, you have to have trust. And the minute you don't, you start making those mistakes. You feel a bit more tense at the steering wheel. You then, you lack that confidence to go in with as much speed out of fear of doing it again. And backwardsly, well, that's not even a word, but in that sense, you end up making more mistakes because of it, because you're tense, because you're doubting yourself. You sort of have that it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, a manifestation. The more you think of something, the more likely it is that it's going to happen. If you go, don't spin, don't spin, don't spin, you're going to spin.
Yeah, because you need to have that confidence to actually just drive the corner normally. The moment you start doing weird things is when it is going to spin. Sebastian Job on the comeback drive, working his way to the inside of the Sorrento. Is it Motorsports? Is it Esports? Who knows? Is it sim racing? But either way, it is behind Team Redline now, who sit in 17th position. And you can see the gaggle of cars up ahead. One of those being lap traffic that jumps out of the way. The rest of them all being for position.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like we were talking about with Fuji, where you've got the top teams carving their way back through the field. Seb Job, who is by no means a slouch, is, oh my goodness me, one of the cars just completely veered left. That didn't seem to be contact there. One of them definitely losing a front wing, thankfully just there in terms of the pit lane. That the 92. Trying to see as to who that is out there on circuit, but they're bringing it back in understandably very quickly for their fast repair. That was a very lucky incident to have happened just before the pit lane.
That's the GT Spain car, so they are into the pit lane, and we'll see if Sebastian Job can maybe pick up a couple. Yeah, you're actually right. If you're going to have a crash at any point, you want it around there. Brabham Esports or Brabham Motorsport, whatever their name is now. I think it's been Brabham Esports that's changed a little bit. Who knows? But either way, that white and blue car is the one that's feeling the pressure of Sebastian Job now. Let's ride on board with GT Spain and see where that came from. So into the two wheels in the grass. I mean, that's why you don't try and turn to a corner when two wheels in the grass.
Yeah, I think they actually shifted up into fourth there, and that's why they spun.
Don't say it. I'll never speak to you again.
London Formula E is going to be cracking.
I'm fuming. I'm absolutely fuming. Oh my god, you can't
Game's
drop that.
gone.
You
Game
can't
is
drop
gone.
that. Also, you just been I'm commentating on London Formula E. If he actually does actually shift on the fourth, I'm actually going to flip my desk. Could you imagine? Oh no! Oh no, it's fine. It wasn't mid corner. It's okay.
Oh, I have missed this so much. Oh, this is quality.
Oh damn. I'm fuming. I'm getting all the calls wrong when it comes to apparently just purely specifically gear shift related instance. I'm just I'm 0 for 10. Sebastian Job though making the move to the inside, getting very aggressive to the inside of the Falcon car of Umelem, and he'll head out onto this back stretch ahead potentially of the group down into the hairpin.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, it is just going to be a slipstream fest, and then of course sending it deep. Sebi Job involved in an incident on the opening lap. They're 3 wide nearly as they hit the brakes. Sebastian Job on the inside there, the Falcon car just alongside him, able to get the drive and find his way through quite cleanly. And Sebastian Job back into the top 15, and I wouldn't have thought we'd be saying that after the opening lap, but yeah, he's just been grinding away at the last few laps, and with 20 minutes left to go, the gap in front, not unattainable. Definitely he's going to need to be pushing from here to the end, but yeah, Sebastian Job showcasing why he is one of, if not the best driver in sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a great comeback drive for Sebastian Job. Whilst certain people have been embarrassing themselves, Sebastian Job certainly hasn't been. Right involved in the fight, but that is a great comeback drive. And we've got to give some plaudits and a bit of a shout out here to Alessandro Quintet, who's doing an unbelievable job for the Grid and Go. He is in the number 2 Grid and Go car, is he not? And scoring some decent points for them. And where are they in the point standing? That's one question I'm going to have to answer myself. Uno momento.
See in a sec then. Yes, Thibaut Casabon though. He's got a bit of a battle trying to keep what is a podium position. Found a way through on the absolute motorsport of Francesco Iliano. So the Vitality car through. I'll be honest, Vitality have been a bit underwhelming in Infinity for me. As oh my goodness me, what's going on a bit further back down here? This is the fight towards the lower echelons of the top 20. Graham Carroll getting involved. And in the mix, a driver that's absolutely not scared to get himself with his elbows. I think that was the Brabham car maybe going off just in behind them. And yeah, definitely keep him busy in the Super Formula Light. It has been one of those races that has always had a spark lit and giving us some very explosive action. Have you found where they are yet?
I have. They're 21st in the standings. They have no top 10s. Their best result is 11th spot. And they're on 503 points. This victory will move them up a few spots for sure if Alessandro Quintet is able to see this one out, including putting them ahead of their sister car in the number 1. So now who's not bad for a number 2 team. That kind of works. Thibaut Casabon, I actually kind of agree with the whole Vitality sentiment of they've been a little bit disappointing in this competition. We know Vitality is one of the best teams in sim racing, and they really are. They've been very up and down in this event. They're not iRacing specialists. I think is the important thing. I think they are here for a good time, right? And that's one of the things. We talk of all the big esports drivers. We talk of all this. We talk of all of that. The big esports drivers are allowed to come into an event and have fun as well. You know, they don't just have to take everything super seriously. If they want to come in with zero practice and just enjoy the event, I think that's important. Wow, that was a big slide.
Yeah, it is important because, especially motorsport, we have this discussion all the time. As a ascend to the inside there, these two definitely having fun. That's Falcon versus Altitude off the exit of the double left-hand infield section. But yeah, I think it's important. You know, motorsports and esports generally can feel like such a slog and such a grind that it really does start to feel like a job. Which, you know, yeah, fair enough, we get paid to do it, but we don't want it to feel like a job. We want it to be fun, and I think that's a good point. And Vitality, typically, I would say, are more prevalent on the sims like rFactor 2, LMU, even Rennsport, of course, where the driving is more on the nose, more slipping, and that absolutely is not the way to drive fast in iRacing. They're still adapting very well. I mean, they've had a few stand-up performances, but yeah, I think they're just coming here, having some fun, and enjoying the event, because I think that is what Infinity is all about. Yeah,
I think you'll see those Vitality drivers do pretty well should certain series return, and they are, like I say, pretty well versed in the rFactor 2 Le Mans Ultimate kind of camp. That sort of series and that kind of area, that kind of style of simulation is a little bit different than how cars drive here on iRacing and how they're balanced. And I get the feeling that they might run strong over the next sort of 12 or so months, as long as they can find their footing. Of course, they have done well over on Rennsport and stuff, which kind of makes sense and fits for the team. But I say here's just a little bit of fun. I'm not gonna lie, I said this before, when it comes to driving and stuff, I don't enjoy driving that much. I think because I went through the bit where you get in the car and it's always a bit of a slog, and you're always like practicing all this, that, and the other. And as soon as you stop enjoying it, it goes off like a cliff. And every time you try and jump back in, it's like, oh my god. This is why I'm a fat retired commentator, and I take up golf.
Yes. To be fair, John Jackson compliments your golf skills quite often.
Thank you.
So that's a good
Doesn't
thing.
compliment my driving or eating skills, does it though? Or commentary.
I think he knows how good you are at eating. That's the problem. The topic about enjoying it there, I've genuinely fallen back in love with racing. I've stopped competition. My last main thing was here we go, take a breath, the Rocket Race Star Formula 4 Esports Competition UK
nice.
A few years ago, and since then I've not really done Lewis, Cam Roger actually. He knew what gears people were in. When it comes to enjoying it, and I really have started to enjoy that competitive style of things, jumping into a race with no practice and having aggression like we've got on display here in VCO Infinity. The fight for the back end of the top 16 into this hairpin, nicely done between these guys, can't quite sort it out. And again, it's just that thing, jumping in, having fun, having a good time, and the thought of racing and being good, I think, is something that's quite important, that you do tend to lose at this this higher end of the field.
Yeah, indeed. That was Brabham trying to hang on against the DLR SimLab Cup, and they'll remain in 17th position. Speaking of that event, by the way, I got sent a video by Cameron Roger recently. It was a little edit of like some of the memories and stuff of the event, including a video I thought I'd never see. As there is some, I was going to say it's lap track, but I think that was actually a switch 4 position on this circuit in this mid portion of the track. The video was, do you remember there was a McLaren there? It was a...
Was it you climbing out of the McLaren? Please tell me it's you.
Was it the MP4-12Z or was it the 650 or wherever it was? And yes, it's a video. 650. Yeah, it's a video of me climbing out of that car, and let me tell you something, it wasn't elegant. No, you cannot. You have to ask Cam for that one. Oh, I've seen it. It's pretty funny. It is pretty funny.
It's that I wasn't there, you guys were, but that story of Ian Porter climbing into the Porsche at one of the R1 events.
Yeah, trying to fit into a car which the seat doesn't move on was not a good idea. But I had to climb out of this McLaren, and I am not a flexible nor small man, and it was abundantly clear that that car was not made for a man of my size, and I don't mean that in height. 900.
I've seen some gentleman drivers.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm chonky. Oh, Falcon's had a bit of a problem. There's a couple of cars off the road, including the Falcon Sim Racing car. Brabham, I think, have been off with them. Thomas Enger Sim Racing will work their way through, along with the Thibaut Courtois Esports team that sat on the rear end. But there's been some drama here through the middle sector of the circuit. We'll drag it off of my fat belly and back on to the racing at hand.
Yeah, it's keeping us on our toes. This race has just had it all, really. The last half an hour of it. We're into the final third with 13 minutes left to go. There you can see the live standings. Red line ticking over at 900 points. That's a little bit wide there, and just there's not a gap. That corner you're turning in, you've got a lot of commitment, and you're not really slowing down too much for it. It's hard to close a gap there. Yeah, Falcon, I think, have hard done by.
I mean, looks like a third gear corner to me, maybe fourth. But the gears were definitely not a part of that instant. That was just poor judgment, and like you say, it was a little dab of the brakes, if anything, going into that left hand, and nothing more. Let's see. I said it was. Did I say it was third first?
Yeah.
It was third first. It is taken. See, there you go, genius. I fixed myself. That's just not on.
Ah, what? He shifted down into second is what caused that crash.
Yeah, mid flight was like, second will fix this. Alas, did not. Somehow the car's are right though, so clearly this Super Formula Light is built like a tank with 12 minutes left to go. I'll sit ahead of TC Esports. Sherratt has got ahead because Luca Schreimer is into the pit lane, so that will most likely be for either a damage repair or something like that. It's not going to be a fuel stop, we believe. There's no need for fuel in this.
No, there's not. They can, yeah, in and out straight away. You can comfortably get a decent chunk of time. I did a half an hour race on 23 litres just in a Super Formula Light, and yeah, that was touch and go, don't get me wrong, but it just shows that it is pretty decent on fuel. Obviously 3 cylinders, what was it, 1.6, we said 1.4, and turbocharged. Oh my goodness me, big snap of oversteer there from our race leader. Thankfully he's got 8 seconds behind Mate Varga, so no major qualms on that one. But yeah, fuel efficiency in this car, pretty decent. 3 cylinders and turbocharged, you're probably not going too wrong.
Yeah, I think my car's more efficient though. Unless I'm throwing it through the roundabouts of Milton Keynes, at which point...
That's true.
Well...
Why are you in Milton Keynes, other than to get out of it?
VCO Esports Racing World Cup 2 a couple of years ago. That was...
Oh, Simply Raced, yeah, right.
It was a Simply Raced. Dane was there indeed, as was... Cameron Rod, Luke Crane was there. Arjuna wasn't, thankfully. Any time to stay away, but it was good vibes. And of course, more VCO. I like all those events and stuff, like the live events. We've just come off. If you haven't joined us at VCO too much before, but you know, fair enough. Hello, welcome. Just come off VCO, the Esports Racing League round 6. We had in person in the Netherlands at Maastricht. And honestly, of all the sim racing events that I've done, I said this to Florian at the time, I genuinely think it was one of the most enjoyable sim racing events I've ever been at. Everyone had such good vibes, such good spirits. We won't talk about the evening, but there was some beverage consumption.
I can imagine. Yeah, you get Ewan Arjuna in a room together, and Cam, and Ewan actually. I think he could stomach a few drinks, I'd imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
They weren't that nice. They were being good boys. They were working the night after. Yeah.
Silly. No, I'm glad I wasn't there. It was the Daytona week, and I decided to stay back and race in Daytona. And then our race was ended by one of our teammates reversing in the pit lane again. It's disqualified. Goodness me! A dart to the inside there into the hairpin. That was a late lunge, and one that was executed, I think, actually to perfection. A bit further down the field, obviously, but yeah, a nice move nonetheless.
Yeah, that was a great move from TC Esports, getting past on the Brabham car. You've got Drago closing in on this fight. You've got one of the BS cars not that far behind. Will be in the hunt for moving up a couple of spots in the final 9 minutes of the race. Also from the Maastricht thing, I think it was on the VCO. I was assuming it's on Instagram and on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it these days. An excellently directed video starring yours truly and Dane and Arjuna of me running around where we were staying. Great times. Brabham with Drago now to the outside, and Drago trying to squeeze their way through but can't quite make it around the outside of T1.
Yeah, it was a good effort, I have to say. And well, they've got the switch back and they've got the drive on that run into what is turn 5, this long right-hander. And I think maybe the Simply Race car letting them through so they can benefit from the slipstream. Of course, that Simply Race car has had its qualms so far over the last 37 minutes. And on the back straight, I think Drago, actually, to be fair, will probably be largely uncontested. That Simply Race Brabham car seems to be underperforming in terms of its raw pace. I think probably just nursing it home to the end, considering the battles that they've endured over the last 37 minutes.
Cut into 2 different camera angles of the rear wing. Dane Baird, obviously sponsored by Simply Race there, trying to get that logo on screen as much as possible. Do the double hairpin sequence, left-hander, then the right is, well, keep our eye on what is effectively the closest battle on this track. We've got Alessandro Quintet with 7.5 minutes to go, leading by 9 seconds. There's the BS hybrid car trying to find its way up the order, and it will look to the inside of the Thomas Enger sim racing. Don't actually know what happened to the BS hybrid car. They're in 22nd position, although make that 21st. But of course, they were running up into the top 10. There's obviously some issues for them. BS competition car, obviously the start of this car, this race in pole position, is only a couple of spots behind and does have the fastest lap of the race in the hands of Rainer Talvar. Maybe expect the BS competition team to maybe find their way into some better positions. They're maybe 6 or so seconds behind this fight as salutes to Drago, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, BS Plus, I mean, they're very good. That's Nicholas Boy, who we would imagine be quite quick, but this race, I think, has been a bit of an anomaly. Let's put it that way. Sebastian Job, he's 6.5 minutes. He could still get a top 10 here, you know. He's on the back of Norbert Leitner and then Ben Riemer just up the road. I mean, even more than that potentially is possible if he really gets on with it. It's a couple laps left to go. What are we running? 1:20, so probably 4 or 5 maybe laps left to go. The Team Redline driver into turn number 1, closing in actually now to the Impulse in front. And, well, I think Sebastian Job, I mean, it's one of those races, not the way the car should be pointing.
Look, I'm not going to lie, that is not the first time we've seen a car on its lid in this race. We've probably had more cars flipped over. Oh, it's Coanda! I think we've had more cars flipped over in this race than I've seen in any other VCO Infinity race.
Yeah,
it's been a lot.
It's been a few. I daren't go and count how many we've seen. There's probably even more that we haven't seen, in all honesty. It's just been one of those wacky races, isn't it, to be honest? Yeah,
absolutely. And you've only got 5 minutes left of me in the comms booth before it'll be tall and small, because Arjuna will join you for the next couple of races. Here's a look down. That's how it got flicked up. That looks like perfect physics to me. Any problems you see?
No, it looks all good to me. looks fine.
Scientifically accurate flip going down into the hairpin. Sebastian Jobe could be on the cusp of, after the drama earlier on in this race, of rescuing a top 10, and look at how good those are on the points. Talking to our junior a little commentary chat as well. He's saying that this looks like it's going to be a 22 race championship. Well, obviously we're going to be doing all 24, but meaning that Team Redline are likely to win it after 22, at least at this rate. And yeah, that flip seemed perfectly normal to me, no issues whatsoever. Very odd and a bit of a shame that wheel-to-wheel contact. You never know, rear wheels to rear wheels can cause some funky stuff on cars. I've seen some whoppers in my time as things get quite close here. In the battle for second position, Thibaut Casabon's called up to the rear end of Matej Varga.
I mean, this has been a drive from Thibaut Casabon. We talk about Vitality being slightly underwhelming. They most definitely have not been in this race. Matej Varga just in front. They have got a bit of lap traffic to contend with. I would probably say at this stage that's helping Matej Varga with a little bit of slipstream. He's going to hope that he can clear the car very quickly, but Thibaut Casabon on the rear end of Matej Varga into the opening corner. Just a handful of laps left to go, and this could be very good for Vitality. And again, for Jesse Esports, do they concede an extra point just to guarantee a big gain on the MMN Commander?
If it's going to get aggressive, then yeah, I wouldn't fight it too hard. They've got the EMM car directly ahead of them. They're going to be putting a lap down. Darren McCormack behind the wheel of that, who has raced with Thibaut Casabon quite a lot. Casabon's got to the inside of Matej Varga as they work their way down this backstretch into the hairpin, and Casabon with the bright yellow bumblebee of Vitality to the inside. And will clear his way through, and does indeed. I actually think that you're quite right there. I think Matej Varga's looking at that and thinking, do you know what? The Vitality are not our fight. The 1 point lost in that is fine. We'll take the third position because you're well outscoring Vitality. You're well outscoring EMM, and those are the important ones for them to be outscoring if they're going to be joining that fight for second.
Exactly that. He just wants to sit back, and yeah, maybe if Vitality make a mistake, then fair enough. But I don't really think that's Varga's race. You're going to pounce on this opportunity. If the point system was like, you know, first is 5 points clear of second, or etc., then yeah, we'd see Varga battle it. But for a point where you might get this opportunity again, might is with a big asterisk next to it. But likelihood is you're not going to get the big three completely down and out of this race. There's a couple of people having some issues towards the back end of this race. One of them that isn't having some issues is Alessandro Quinte, 9.6 seconds clear of the field, and well, just in a race of his own, really. I'd be very nervous having a car that close to my car, though. In the rearview mirror, I would be probably driving in my mirrors, having very little trust for the car behind to throw this race away for me. But Grid and Go have been doing a very good job. 2 minutes left to go. I think the next lap, it'll be the penultimate time through next time by, and Alessandro Quinte, I mean, the race that he's had, again, lucky, yes, that everyone destroyed themselves, but he was the one to make that luck and carve his way through the field, and then beyond that, hang on and extend that gap at the front.
Yeah, absolutely dominating in that performance at the moment. Grid and Go come through to start the penultimate lap. Do you remember what the word is for third to last?
Oh, no, I don't.
There's actually a word for fourth to last as well. You know that?
No, I don't know.
You've got,
when you say it, you've got know.
You've got penultimate lap.
Yeah.
You've got ante-penultimate lap.
Yeah.
And then, with 4 laps to go, it would be the... I don't know why this word exists. You have the...
Is that the word?
Pre-ante-penultimate lap. What's the point? Who's ever saying that? Apart from me, because I got told it, and I think it's so dumb that that's a word.
So you've got anti-penultimate and pre-anti-penultimate.
Yeah. So what's the one before that? Ante, pre-ante, penultimate. Just keep adding. If you keep adding pre and an ante, I'm just stacking them up.
It's
we
like
can actually do the whole race distance.
You've got vacuum cleaner, and then you've got the vacuum cleaner, and then you just keep going. Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, on to what is the final lap now for Alessandro Quinte. He's been just remarkable this race, hasn't it? It's been a remarkable race, a very big anomaly. Just 1 corner left to go.
Yeah, there's been some big old crashes in this one, but coming through all of that, it's the number 2 Grid and Go-Kart to seal their first victory. I think even their first top 10 of these competitions here in VCO Infinity. There is a crash in the background from one of the back markers, but it was an absolute domination from Alessandro Quinte. On the podium joining, it's Vitality and Mate Varga for Sheza Esports, scoring some solid points. The hunt down for second in the title race.
Yeah, a bit of a wacky race for and a good race for maybe some of the wrong reasons. We just come off the back, of course, of that Formula Ford race at Fuji, which gave us some incredible scenes. And actually, no, we're continuing on for another one.
We've been duped. We've been duped by the game. I did think that we were. I'll just take a deep breath. Do the same conversation. What were we saying before? The vacuum cleaner. Off you go.
Yeah. Class. No, because I was like, that last lap went way too quickly. No way are we in the final couple of corners now. No. I remember there was one time in the Apex Hunters United we had a similar situation where it was white, then not white, and then the checkered, and it was a very confusing scenario. That was a bit of a throwback a few years ago. This, now, the final couple of corners, at least you've got what you want to say now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, second time's the charm. We'll see him come through the final corner for the actual final time. And now the number 2 will cross the line to win. Grid and Go on top here at Okayama in the Super Formula Lights, comfortably ahead of Thibaut Casbon and Mate Varga. It's, again, a really, really impressive drive and just kept out of trouble. That's the most important bit in a race like this, where it's been absolutely mental.